I wasn't in the shop all week. I was out shooting a commercial for Frontrunner. That means a couple things. One, there's going to be an uncut about the production. And also, nothing has changed in this space whatsoever. So this time, I'm doing a bit of a camera gear guide, because I've shot with a lot of cameras and made a couple of travel videos.
Well, I was walking down the road just the other day. I met an Indian boy passing my way.
This is the Sony A7S3. And it's not the camera that shoots the most on a trip, like not by a long shot, but it's the camera that we take out when there's a scenery that warrants it, or we have that cooking sequence, or you name it. Something that warrants the effort and something that is supposed to look really, really, really good. I was pretty late to join the club, not because it's not a great camera, but I am using a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera regularly, and the image quality is just that one step up. What this thing really is convenient. It has the same batteries as all the other Sony cameras. It has the same form factor. It takes the same lenses. It has brilliant autofocus and is great in low light. And you also get slow motion. So on paper, there's nothing that you could fault this camera for. It really it's just a preference. I also have a small rig half cage on this, just for convenience and ease of use if I want to rig it up. But you're not going to do that on the road. You're not even going to want this camera for road trips unless you are already, well invested in the whole thing. What you do, however, need is a proper stills camera. This is the Sony A7M3. It's one generation old now, and I love it. I take it with me nearly every day, wherever I go. Not with this lens, but this is the main camera that I shoot stills with. And the reason it's so great is the image quality is cool, it does everything, and it can record decent video, even though I never, ever, ever, ever use it. You could very feasibly run this as your only camera and be fine with it. I don't think I have anything more to say about it. However, we do need to talk about these lenses. I opted to bring the Tamron 17-28 and 28-75. The reason is I can have both lenses mounted at the same time and just switch them between cameras depending on whether I need them on the stills camera or on the film camera. The problem is they don't give me that that I usually get with my analog lenses when I'm shooting everything else. So yeah, they're great, they do the job. I've shot really cool stills with it, but I am not 100% sold to take this as my only lens setup for the next trip. But I mean, this is the size of a more or less cinema quality film camera and a stills camera that is very, very capable. And either does both. And they take the same batteries, depending on what you use, they take the same memory cards. The batteries last forever, the autofocus is great. I'm not a fanboy, really not, but you can't fault Sony here. They do a really good job.
Well, I was walking down
I love my drone shots, you know that. There is a problem though with this. This is the Mavic 2 Pro, and as far as I'm concerned, the image quality of the Mavic 3 is just about the same, which is why I haven't upgraded yet, along a couple of other things that they changed. And you don't need a drone of this caliber. And to properly use it, you need ND filters, and you really should know how to fly this, which is my main gripe with drones to begin with. They've become so accessible that I think it's too easy to fly them. And I can't fault anyone for thinking they buy one and they just fly it around. The problem is there's a lot of responsibility that comes with something that goes through the air at about 70 kilometers an hour in sport mode. So I'm a certified pilot, and I'm going to say the following. Yes, it's a great addition to your camera bag. It can make or break a certain scene if you can establish it that way. And I recommend you don't fly when you don't have to. You should have a GoPro. You really should. This is one of those things that sometimes you need it, and most of the time I don't even use the footage. You think you're just going to press record and it's going to be cool. The problem is you would have to go twice as fast or twice as ridiculous in whatever you're doing in order for it to look like the commercials they show you. Still, sometimes there isn't a way around it, and you don't by no means need the latest version. I had a 7, I think, for a couple of years, and I only needed to upgrade for a production that I had. Hammering through this, I think. Let's go. This is a tiny tripod. I don't need to explain this, but this is very handy if you want to do some vloggy stuff, or if you want to put the camera down, because sometimes you are not going to find a suitable rock to prop your camera up. And we've all been there. This is the big tripod, and unfortunately it's currently broken, and I need to get it fixed. It is the Peak Design travel tripod in the carbon fiber version. This thing is very expensive. And the reason I have it is because I have a big tripod and I had a couple of small tripods, and I'm over it. I wanted the definitive travel tripod that could handle whatever I wanted it to do and pack down really neatly. Because sometimes you do want a locked off shot, and honestly, this is probably the best investment out of all of this. Is you can shoot with probably any camera you want, but this can further your road trips more than anything. And here is the thing that everybody wants. This is a DJI Ronin S2. Yes. And what it is a gimbal. You can do the smooth shots with this. The reality is I have this to shoot cars, not really for much else. And it's getting very, very little use on a trip because it is fairly easy to set up, but you don't want to shoot everything on this. Like, what's the purpose of the shot? Is to stabilize something, and usually you don't need to do that. So it is a great bit of kit for what it is. It's very reasonably priced, and I'd say 99% of people doing road trip films do not need this. However, if you do want that one specific shot, you do need it. Is there something left? And now, the MVP. the scene has changed. And the reason the scene has changed is because I need to show you this. This is my most loved camera. It is the RX100 VII. It's a tiny, tiny little thing that has a flip-up screen like the old generation of Sonys. It has a microphone jack in generation 7. It can record 4K internally at up to 5 minutes, and then it overheats if you repeat that often enough. But when do you need more than 5 minutes? Like, I can do these with this. And with the Rode Video Micro, I get really good audio quality out of it from the Rode. It has a 24 to 200 millimeter power zoom, and I can legitimately fit that in my pocket. You can tell great stories with this. And that's all I'm gonna leave you with is all of this gear is great. Wait, I have a ton of this. I have a ton of this because I didn't clean up. This is all the gear I have around me. And then there's more. Obviously you need a controller, and we have a bit of a thing here, an extra light. And in the bag I obviously have the charger and some more casings. The reality is you don't need most of this. If you want to get into this, this tripod costs 25 bucks. This tripod head costs 18 bucks. The camera arguably is a bit expensive, but I'd say you can find something that is around 500 bucks. And a microphone. And this, I think, is all you need to start filming road trips and have great quality. Everything else can be learned. And once you reach the point that you realize why you would want something else, then you start adding the drone. Then you start adding the GoPro. I never wanted to talk about cameras. Here I did. Yeah. Oh, and because I know some people are probably going to ask, this is my camera bag. It is a COMPAGNON full leather weekender, which is, it packs a ton of stuff, then it gets really heavy, and it's really not very ergonomic to carry around, but it's a beautiful bag. I've been using it for the past 7 years, and it's worn out here and there. Some of the stitching just, didn't last, but overall, it just fits all the stuff so well. Look, I can just throw this in there, and I can even pack this down. I can essentially put everything that I need in this one bag and be done with it. If you have any more questions about camera gear, leave them in the comment section, I guess. And with that, another Uncut is done. Gear does matter, but gear matters less than you think. And as is the tradition, I can show you one thing and one thing only.